Hello, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World, and I'm your host, Jaralma Dushinjargad. Our top stories for today. President Steinmeier was welcomed with a ceremony at Sukhbatar Square. President Khurelsukh and Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier hold a meeting. A joint declaration on the strategic partnership between Mongolia and the Federal Republic of Germany was signed. For the news, stay tuned. In a momentous event, the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, along with his spouse Elke Budenbender, arrived in Mongolia on February 7, 2024. This state visit marks the fourth occasion of a presidential visit from Germany to Mongolia.
The distinguished guests were warmly received at the Chinggis Khan International Airport in Ulaanbaatar by Mongolia's Foreign Minister Batsig Batmokh, the ambassador of Germany to Mongolia Mr. Helmut Kulitz, and other high-ranking officials. The ceremony continued with an official welcoming ceremony at the Sukhbatar Square, where both presidents paid homage to the statue of Chinggis Khan. A significant moment unfolded as President Frank-Walter Steinmeier signed the Book of Honored Guests in the Barent Hall of the State Palace of Mongolia, symbolizing the deepening bonds between the two nations. The visit holds a particular significance as it's part of the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and Germany. The diplomatic ties between Mongolia and Germany were initially forged on January 31st of 1974, and over the years these relations have evolved into a comprehensive partnership in 2008. The current state visit is poised to strengthen these ties even further, fostering collaboration and cooperation between the two nations on various fronts.
Following the welcoming ceremony, a crucial meeting took place at the State Palace, where both presidents discussed various aspects and dimensions of the Mongolia-Germany comprehensive partnership. Rooted in the shared values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. This partnership has been expanded in the areas of politics, economy, trade, investment, culture, education, science, transport, archaeology, and humanity.
The President of Mongolia expressed his sincere gratitude for Germany's unwavering support during Mongolia's transition to democracy and a market economy. He also acknowledged the advancements in bilateral relations, culminating in the elevation to a strategic partnership. This milestone reflects the successes achieved over the past 5 decades of collaborative efforts. The discussion between the two heads of state extended to global matters as they explored initiatives proposed by both countries in the international arena. Committing to contribute to global efforts, the President emphasized addressing challenges such as climate change, desertification, and environmental degradation. As Mongolia and Germany further solidify their strategic partnership, this meeting marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing collaboration, fostering a shared commitment to addressing global challenges and deepening bilateral ties across various sectors.
On February 7, 2024, the Foreign Minister of Mongolia, Batmokh Batsitsig, and the Minister of State, the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, Tobias Lindner, inked the joint declaration on the strategic partnership between Mongolia and the Federal Republic of Germany.
Tobias Lindner.
Over the years, starting in 2008, the two nations have progressively enhanced their relations and collaboration under the Comprehensive Partnership Framework. Notably, this partnership reached its elevated status of a strategic partnership during the state visit of President Frank-Walter Steinmeier of the Federal Republic of Germany to Mongolia. The decision to elevate their collaboration to the status of the strategic partnership is grounded in shared values encompassing democracy, human rights, freedom, and the rule of law, along with adherence to market economy principles. This significant step aims to reinforce Mongolia's commitment to a peaceful, open, independent, multifaceted foreign policy, including its third neighbor policy, while aligning with Germany's global commitments. Germany's enduring efforts to advance peace and security, uphold the rules-based international order, and address climate concerns, and will further contribute to the foundation of this enhanced collaboration. As part of the strategic partnership framework, both parties have jointly agreed to engage in the following cooperative endeavors. to strengthen their cooperation in the areas of politics and security, including through the exchange of high-level visits, to further streamline their multilateral cooperation within regional and international forums, emphasizing Mongolia's full support for Germany's aspiration to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council, to actively contribute to a strengthened multilateralism with the United Nations and its core, to advocate the values of democracy, the rule of law, transparency, good governance, democratic parliamentarian institutions, and civil society, particularly to support deepening collaboration between the two countries' parliaments, including continued support by Germany for Mongolia's efforts to strengthen judicial and legal reform, to expand economic trade and investment collaboration, bearing in mind the objectives of Mongolia's long-term development policy Vision 2050, including the improvement of sustainable business, support for small and medium-sized enterprises, and the conditions for foreign investment, and to encourage cooperation in the development of tourism, agriculture, and forestry, to deepen cooperation in education, culture, sports, science, health, and inclusive and gender-sensitive social welfare. In this connection, the two sides agreed to continue their efforts to support scholarship programs for Mongolian students to obtain higher education and vocational training in Germany, to intensify cooperation in fields of particular mutual interest, including research in archaeology as well as in the mining sector. The latter, particularly with regards to the implementation of the agreement between the government of the Federal Republic of Germany and the government of Mongolia on cooperation regarding natural resources, industry, and technology, to cooperate on adapting to and particularly mitigating the climate crisis as well as its risks for human security and peace, and on protecting the biodiversity and sustainable management of protected areas, and to strengthen their cooperation on preserving water resources and combating deforestation and desertification while supporting the national campaign 1 Billion Trees initiated by the President of Mongolia.
During the state visit, President Hursi of Mongolia and Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier of Germany addressed the media in press briefing, highlighting the significance of their discussions. President Hursi reciprocated by expressing Mongolia's profound regard for Germany as its third neighbor, emphasizing the close, trusted partnership and friendship shared between the two nations.
Our nations have maintained active cooperation in military and defense matters for over a decade, notably contributing forces to joint peacekeeping operations in Afghanistan and El Sharif. I extend my sincere appreciation to the Mongolian military personnel for their support during these challenging circumstances. Within the scope of peacekeeping cooperation, Germany is actively involved in a project aimed at enhancing the skills of Mongolian military troops. This initiative underscores our commitment to strengthening the capabilities of our armed forces through joint endeavors. The recent signing of a joint declaration on the strategic partnership between Mongolia and the Federal Republic of Germany signifies a significant development. This agreement reflects our shared dedication to advancing cooperation across various sectors at both governmental and interpersonal levels. Looking forward, we aim to intensify collaboration in the development sector, education, culture, as well as renewable energy and climate sectors. Mongolia considers Germany as a vital third neighbor, a close trusted partner and friend in Europe. And Germany is the first European country to establish a strategic partnership with Mongolia. We discussed in detail and exchanged opinion about the joint implementation of large-scale mutually beneficial projects, strengthening and further developing the achievements at the past 50 years of Mongolian-German relations and cooperation, and increasing economic benefits and investments. As a result of our discussion, we issued a joint declaration on the strategic partnership between Mongolia and Federal Republic of Germany, and the parties signed an intergovernmental agreement on international road transport relations and documents on cooperation in economic diversification, improvement of legal and judicial capacity, sustainable energy in the sector of culture, education, science, environment, and archaeology. We also agreed to continue the rich history of relations between the two countries in the education sector and expanding cooperation in higher education and vocational training.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at currency exchange rate provided by Mongol Bank. Next, our program will turn our attention to foreign news partnered with international news agencies. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussed the hostage release and ceasefire plan with Israeli President Isaac Herzog in Jerusalem on Wednesday as the war in Gaza enters the fifth month.
The hostages are foremost.
Israel remains deeply shaken by Hamas' October 7th attack, in which militants burst through the country's vaunted defenses and rampaged across southern Israel, killing some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and abducting some 250, around half of whom remain in captivity in Gaza.
The government of Israel. For us as well, the hostages are foremost on our minds and in our hearts. As you know, we now have a response from Hamas to the proposal that was put on the table. The way forward, we're looking at it intensely, as is, I know, the government of Israel. There's a lot of work to be done, but we are very much focused on doing that work and hopefully being able to resume the release of hostages that was interrupted so many months ago. I also very much appreciate your emphasis on the imperative of protecting civilians and providing humanitarian assistance to those in need. There are so many innocent men, women, and children who are suffering as a result of the attacks perpetrated by Hamas and now being caught in a crossfire of Hamas's making. We all have an obligation to do everything possible to get the necessary assistance to those who so desperately need it. And the steps that are being taken, additional steps that need to be taken, are a focus of my own meetings here as well.
Blinken met with Israeli leaders on Wednesday after Hamas put forward a detailed plan for a new ceasefire and hostage release deal, but both sides remained dug in on task for elusive goals. Hamas laid out a three-phase plan to unfold over 4.5 months, responding to a proposal drawn up by the United States, Israel, Qatar, and Egypt. All hostages would be released in exchange for hundreds of Palestinians imprisoned by Israel, including senior militants, and an end to war. The proposal would effectively leave Hamas in power in Gaza and allow it to rebuild its military capabilities, a scenario that Israeli leaders have adamantly rejected. The deadliest round of fighting in the history of the Israel-Palestinian conflict has killed over 27,000 Palestinians, leveled entire neighborhoods, driven the vast majority of Gaza's population from their homes, and pushed a quarter of the population to starvation.
Who so desperately need it.
The European Union on Wednesday launched legal action against Hungary's right-wing government over new laws that would allow authorities to investigate and prosecute people accused of undermining the country's sovereignty.
Provide some information on the infringement you're referring.
The Sovereignty Protection Act entered force in December 2023. It gave the government power to gather information on any groups or individuals that benefit from foreign funding and influence public debate. The act allows prison terms of up to 3 years for anyone convicted of violating the new laws. The European Commission, which monitors the application of legislation across the 27 European Union member countries, said that the act violates several provisions of the bloc's law. Anita Hipper, European Union spokesperson, has sent a letter of formal notice to Budapest, the first step in legal action.
The European Commission decided today to send a letter of formal notice to Hungary, raising a number of serious concerns as regards its compliance with the EU law. And to respond directly to your question, this follows a series of thorough assessments done by the Commission, but also an exchange of letters that the Commission had with Hungary at political level on the so-called law on the defense of national sovereignty, and as well as the Hungarian law regulating the financing of political parties.
The Commission also raised concerns that it threatens European Union democratic values, undermines the principle of democracy and the electoral rights of European citizens.
The Commission considers that the laws violate violate EU law, in particular when it comes to the principle of democracy and the electoral rights of the EU citizens, the fundamental rights enshrined in the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, the EU Data Protection Law, and several rules applicable to the internal market. In addition, the setup of a new authority with wide-ranging powers and a strict regime of monitoring, enforcement, and sanctioning also risks to seriously harm the democracy in Hungary. In terms of the process, Hungary has now 2 months to reply to the letter of formal notice.
It also infringes on fundamental rights, including the right to privacy, personal data protection, and freedom of expression and association. Hungary has 2 months to respond to the letter and address the Commission's concerns.
French President Emmanuel Macron paid tribute on Wednesday to the victims of Hamas' October 7th attack in a national ceremony held 4 months after what he described as the century's largest anti-Semitic massacre that killed some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and saw around 250 abducted.
The ceremony paid a moving homage to 42 French citizens who died in the attack and 3 hostages still believed to be held by Hamas and other militants in Gaza. 3 empty chairs symbolized their absence near families of victims who were attending the tribute. 4 French hostages had been previously released. Republican guards held photographs of each victim in front of a giant screen showing their first name in the Invalids' monumental courtyard in central Paris. Macron strongly denounced barbarity which feeds on anti-Semitism and propagates it. France will keep working tirelessly to meet the aspirations for peace and security of all in the Middle East, he said. A sharp rise in anti-Semitic acts in France has been reported in the wake of October 7 attack. Data from the Interior Ministry and the Jewish Community Protection Service watchdog showed that 1,676 anti-Semitic acts were reported in 2023 compared to 436 the previous year. Macron also referred to the ongoing war in Gaza and stressed that Israeli lives are not the only ones that continue to be torn apart in the Middle East. All lives are equal, invaluable in the eyes of France, he said. The Republican Guards Orchestra played the Kaddish by French composer Maurice Ravel, written in 1914 based on a traditional Hebrew melody.
As tensions intensify with escalating threats from North Korea, residents of a South Korean border island fear for their safety. The North's recent firing drills near the disputed sea boundary earlier this year rekindled the villagers' old nightmares, the attack more than a decade ago.
In 2010, North Korea fired dozens of artillery shells at Yongpyong Island, one of 5 South Korean islands in the Yellow Sea, killing 2 soldiers and injuring civilians. Song Yong-ok, a 61-year-old resident in the island, said the North's continued provocations shake the fragile stability she had barely regained. The traces of shelling still remain scattered throughout the village. It is difficult for the villagers to separate their lives from worries about armed conflict. However, they strive to carry on with their daily lives, relying on their government to protect them.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye.